Hi, my friends. We're here back with another reading lesson. This is the second session of um, our first unit. This session is called Taking Responsibility for Reading Lots of Within Reach Books. So yesterday we talked about reading intensely and to be able to grow solid ideas grounded in books. We talked about specific ways we can do that. Think back to yesterday and list to yourself some of the work readers do when they read intensely. Those things are choosing a book that you want to read, you reading as if you were inside the book, putting yourself in the main character's shoes, you working hard to figure out confusing parts. We're not just drifting along and reading even though we're not comprehending. And the last thing was to make notes. And that was actually part of your assignment, was to make some notes, fill in one of those stickies that I put up there in that slideshow for you, to make notes of things that you want to talk about later. Okay. Today, I want to teach you that to grow solid, grounded ideas about books, readers need to choose books they can read fluently and understand well. Readers have ways of checking books before they commit to it. So, in your terms, your teaching point is I can grow important ideas about books by choosing books that I can read fluently and understand well. So I'm going to pretend that I'm your age. I have a stack of books that I know I'm interested in, and I know that I'll read them all eventually, but right now I'm going to weed out books that are too hard, books that I can't read smoothly or understand well yet. Um, so I'm going to have a book to read. So the book that I have that I'm looking at, I want to see if it's the right book for me, is King George, What Was His Problem? So I kind of just flipped open to the first page, and let's see if we can decide if this is a good one for me. Entire books have been written about the cause of the American Revolution. You'll be glad to know that this isn't one of them. But you should understand how the whole thing got started. So far, it seems okay. I'm going to flip forward to a couple pages in forward, because that first page is an introduction. So maybe it doesn't have anything that won't be hard for me to do. Let's see. I see some words that I'm not sure about exactly, but I don't see too many that aren't that are going to be a problem for me. So that's one way to go about it. That book I think might be okay for me. Sometimes too, reading out loud or really like whisper reading to yourself is harder than reading in your head. So if you're not sure, and if it sounds like a robot in your head, even when you are reading silently, that book's probably too hard. So what are some ways we can tell a book is too hard for us? So sometimes if I read really slowly, or I get stuck on words, or I stop a lot, that can be sometimes a way to tell it's too hard. Also, if you can't read with expression, so you have to pay attention to the punctuation. If your brain is too busy trying to figure out some of the words and what it's saying, you don't get to pay attention to that punctuation, and it's harder to read with expression. Even when I read, if I'm getting all of the words and stuff, but if I don't understand what it's saying, then that's telling me also it's too hard. Okay. I can't tell you what I just read because I was too busy and focused on trying to read it correctly that I didn't understand what I was reading. Okay. So here are a couple, I'm going to go back one. So here's a nice little list. So a book is too hard when it doesn't sound good like a read aloud when you're reading it out loud. It also is too hard if you go back and reread it to make it sound more smooth, and that doesn't help. So you go back to reread it to make it sound more smooth, and it doesn't help you. The third thing is you don't understand it. If you don't understand a book, you're not going to be able to read it intensely. This one's big one too. This one's you can kind of pick it up and look at it and just say like, okay, wow, these letters are too small and they're too close together. That when books are getting more and more challenging, they tend to make the words smaller and more close together, which makes it hard to read, especially if you're just starting out on reading or you're not as practiced as someone like me. And the last thing is there are too many hard words. You guys know the 5-finger rule. You have 5 words on one page that you don't understand. That book might be too hard for you. Okay. So if you're choosing a Just Right book, you have to look at your level or a couple above or below. So basically what it's saying, if you are an O level reader, then you shouldn't have anything in your desk higher than Q, and you shouldn't have anything lower than M. So in your desk sack or your book basket, you might have an N, an O, a P, and a Q. Those are all books that are within your range. If you make 4 or more mistakes on a single page, like I say the 5-finger rule, so mine is really 5, then that book is too hard for you. And it's okay to realize partway through, hey, this book is too hard, and put it away and pick something different. That's totally fine. So we cannot reach our goal. Our goal for the end of the school year is to be a level S. We can't reach our goal if we are not practicing at our just right level. Okay. So as you go off to do your own reading work today, keep in mind that researchers have found that we need to read lots of books that are within reach for us. So again, if you are a J, your books would be 2 below J and 2 above J. Okay, so J, K, L, J, I forgot my alphabet, but you know what's before I. Okay. You can use signs that a book is too hard to help you weed out books that are still too hard. Too hard books won't get you a good grounding level on which to build strong ideas. So today, and forever, make sure you are reading to make your reading stronger. Remember that you won't get better by reading the hardest book in the world. Because if I were to pick up a book that was a level Z plus, so like all the way at the end of the alphabet plus some, and if I didn't understand it, even as somebody who has been reading for 25 plus years, it's not going to help me become a better reader. Okay. You get better by reading books that you understand, because you can then think deeper about those books. So like we talk about reading intensely, I'm not going to pick a book that I can barely understand, because then it's going to be really hard for me to focus on learning about the characters and thinking about what their whole deal is. So you have to focus on books that are right for you. Okay. So going back to that anchor chart we had at the beginning in that first session, find a book you want to read as if you were in the book, figure out the confusing parts, note the important things to talk about later, do the work the book is requesting. So the work that they're requesting is to like read it fluently and think about the characters. And those are all of the different things that you will need to do for your book. Okay, so today you're going to continue reading your books independently. As you read, make sure you stop and jot. I'm going to try to do some moving around today. If you haven't shared your folder with me, then it's going to be harder for you, and you might have to just create a Word document or a Google Doc and do some stopping and jotting in there. If you have Post-its at home or a notebook, you can also do it in there. You don't have to do it on the computer. Some of you might need to go book shopping today. If you're at home, that's totally fine. Go on Epic, and their books are by level there. So if you don't know your reading level, you can always leave a me a private comment on Google Classroom and I can get it for you for your last reading level that you had. So if you're coming into school on Monday, we can do some book shopping as well. You want 2 books at your level and 2 books above your level. Okay. And that's for the next session. So we are all done with this session today. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the Google Classroom in a private comment or a comment on this, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend, my friends.